Hello, guys and gals. Me, Mudahar. Get that roasting ready. I'm a fraud, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, today we're going to talk about mobile phones. Now, I want to just start off by saying the Windows Phone was the greatest device ever made. Jesus came down from the heavens and actually wrote the software for one of the best designs of mobile operating systems I've ever seen. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this phone, had Windows Mobile taken off, I would have literally been the biggest Windows Phone simp imaginable. But Microsoft can be very disappointing when it comes to hardware. This didn't take off. The third-party apps didn't exist. And what was one of the coolest mobile interfaces, the most unique one, got replaced with these Fisher-Price bubbly ones, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, today's day and age, you have two choices between mobile devices, Apple and Android. And for some reason, in today's day and age, people get really militant about which device they want to use. Apple people swear that Android users are poor, deficient, and all around. And Android users can't shut up about customizing their operating system or their themes and constantly crapping on Apple users for using a baby-price, Fisher-Price operating system, okay? It's a war as old as time. PlayStation versus Xbox, USA versus Russia, okay, a Tyrian versus human. Yeah, we're at a point where, yes, mobile device wars are as prevalent as you would expect. And oftentimes I see people arguing from the perspective of having no technical backing whatsoever. You'll find people talking all this mad shit about which mobile operating system is better, when at the end of the day, all you're really doing with a goddamn cell phone is making a call and sending a message every once in a while. And that's pretty much where it comes to, okay? Like a poet on YouTube once said, all right? If that shit opens up emails, browses the web, and checks out porn, it's pretty much all you need, ladies and gentlemen. That shit is like NASA, quite literally. Now, for the last few months, I've had an Android device, and I had a pretty good Android device from Samsung, one of the best that you can imagine. And I've run into one of my problems with Android in very recent terms. After a few months of use, I generally find the device to start getting a bit more sluggish, battery life starts to take a notable hit, and maybe there is a general user error on my end, and maybe I should stop ever trusting Samsung with a mobile device. Maybe I should look at other vendors in the Android space. Vendors like Google. Vendors like, well, that's pretty much all I really know in the space. I know LG doesn't really make any smartphones. I don't even know if Sony makes any of them anymore. All I've really heard of is Samsung. I think Motorola makes phones. I know they make the Razr foldable, but I ain't paying $1,000 for a Motorola foldable, okay? No matter how pretty and how much nostalgia it hits. At the end of the day, when it comes to like mobile devices, I just want something that lasts me more than one day, okay? That's pretty much my hope. In the perfect world, back in the olden days, in the Nokia 3300s, those phones could survive a nuclear war, okay? Those phones, I shit you not, the battery lasted at least throughout the week, okay? You barely had to charge the thing. And yeah, you know what? All you needed was the ability to call, send text messages, and play some goddamn Snake. You didn't need NASA-grade-like applications in your pockets. Even to this day, every single mobile device that I have, all I really use on it is YouTube, Netflix from time to time, Twitter, the phone application, and a web browser. That is. In fact, if anything, most of my actual web browsing really just happens on a mobile device anyways. To me, buying a good mobile device is pretty important. So anyways, in the last couple days, I switched to iOS. And I know, you might be like, but Muda, aren't you supposed to be that open source guy? How could you capitulate to Apple, those evil, disgusting heathens? Now, don't get me wrong, in the last few years, I've kind of softened up towards Apple. I mean, shit, I have a MacBook at this point because this thing lasts 28 hours in a day. Thank God for ARM processors, you know what I mean? But I've kind of softened up a little bit because at the end of the day, all I really need to do is make calls and send text messages. And sending a text message is where the crux of my issue came into. Now, ever since I switched to Android, I became what is known in the iOS cult as the filthy green bubble. You know who you are when you're in the group chats and you're the only one that gets the green bubble. Everyone's just getting the blue bubbles. Now, to understand what the green versus blue bubble mentality is, Apple users have something known as iMessage, which basically, if you're communicating to another iOS device, you're not actually sending text messages. You're on a special social network where it's Apple to Apple. It's just you sending messages back and forth. Now, unfortunately, in our field, in the YouTubing field, and especially when it comes to my family and friends, all of them just buy phones from Apple, okay? At this moment in time, I'm pretty sure Apple has just all the cellular networks on lockdown. They just have all the phones available. Everyone just specifically goes there. I don't know what stigma there is against Android devices. Very few people in my life actually own them. I can probably tell you, out of everyone in my life, only one person, one of my close friends, actually has an Android device. My friends, some of them have them. Everyone else is just specifically iOS. Now, this wouldn't be that big of a deal had everyone in my family just taken some of my advice and downloaded third-party tools like Signal. Hell, I will even make a Meta account. I hate Facebook, just to use WhatsApp with the family. Now, in Europe, from what I understand, people use WhatsApp all the time. You know what? Great. Europeans, you get the fat W. North Americans, you lazy fucking bums. None of them will ever install a third-party tool. I have tried to convince family members to just install Signal. And I don't know what PSYOP is running. Maybe Apple's funding it. Maybe the goddamn NSA, the DEA, the FBI. All of them think it's some weird hacker tool, and none of them trust him. Even though it's designed for encrypted end-to-end messaging, which is pretty much my only requirement, okay? The only thing that I want. And it allows us to basically have iMessage across all forms of devices. No, ladies and gentlemen. Literally everyone that we work with, all of them use the blue bubbles. They all send emails, they all send videos, pictures, whatever. And if you typically use SMS, which is the green bubble, basically the green bubble is your phone defaulting to the original tried and true classic GSM text message method. All of those MMSs, those multimedia messages you get sent, look like actual dog shit, okay? We're talking 3GP video files from back in the original pre-live leak days, all right? Bad all around. And honestly, at this moment in time, instead of trying to convert the world, instead of trying to bring this new religion of cross-platform messaging, I just had to capitulate and go back to iOS. Literally not even that big of a deal. At the end of the day, all I use my cell phone for is calling and texting. And if 95% of the people in my family, friend, and work circle literally cannot switch off of this goddamn bitten apple, unfortunately, you have to join the evil club, all right? It is what it is. Now, this is one of those things where I've literally tried everything I can to try to convert, the iOS experience to Android in some capacity. And in some cases, there were tools like iMessage, and I'm sure these work for a lot of people. They don't work for me, okay? That's the unfortunate problem. The thing is, apparently you need to install this on an Apple device. I only have a MacBook. I don't have a big boy Macintosh, all right? I actually have to do shit on my computer. So I couldn't get iMessage working, which meant that I couldn't port iMessage over to my Android device. So this was a shot in the dark. Now, of course, one of the other things is Apple has literally stopped any form of progress when it comes in the messaging world. Now, Android does this thing, this whole PSA, if you will. Back in the day when they told you not to do drugs in school? Yeah, Android has a get the message. It's time for Apple to fix texting. Now, what they're talking about is a technology known as RCS. Now, you might be like, whoa, what is RCS? RCS is known as Rich Communication Services, which is an incredibly modern standard. Not that it came out very recently. It's actually quite old at this point. And it literally could be one thing that if Apple had enabled this within their own messaging application, there would be no more blue-green bubble bullshit. We would all just be purple bubbles. Everyone would get along. All the time you could sit in the group chat and nobody would have to sit there and wonder, God damn, is that an iPhone person or is it an Android person? No, it's just your homie. You're just messaging them. Literally, Apple could fix this overnight and just add support, but they don't. And I know why. It's because they want everyone to be using their goddamn device infrastructure. And unfortunately, because everyone here in NA and our family friend circle uses it, I have to unfortunately join the club. No more can I be the lone maverick. Now, of course, it doesn't make iOS perfect. Hell no. Have you seen this notification drawer? Whoever designed this needs to be stepping on Legos for the rest of their life. I hope to God whoever designed the notification drawer, like, you see how fucking insane this is? They've got like 99 different Discord notifications. I hope their wife or husband cheats on them, and I hope you walk in on it, okay? I hope you have to look through that mental anguish. God damn, this is 5 minutes of not checking my notifications. Now, of course, iOS has some advantages, let's not pretend. The battery life, in my opinion, is generally better because the Apple's operating system is absolutely locked down to the high heavens, meaning that if you're actually trying to use this and you close the phone and just set it aside, it doesn't do any background work, it doesn't do any crazy power user stuff. It's literally designed to be efficient as hell. Now, obviously, I think the app support on iOS is still better than it is Android for some weird reason. Even though this isn't used by the majority of the world, it always seems like app developers, are putting more effort into the UI for iOS apps than they ever do Android applications, which is, again, wild to me, but it is the world that we goddamn live in. The other reality is I genuinely do feel the actual operating system provided by Apple is a little better in terms of privacy, just in terms of how insane you can deal with like permission systems and whatnot. I think that's pretty cool. And it's something I really hope to see completely replicated on Android side as well. Not that Android is bad for privacy. It's absolutely gotten way better in the last few iterations. Now, of course, if privacy's the game, ladies and gentlemen, then both iOS and Android suck dog cheeks. At that point, you might want to get a Linux phone, the Librem 5, which has every goddamn form of hardware kill switch imaginable. Now, of course, like the Windows Phone, third-party applications are typically going to be a shot in the dark for this, which is the only thing that pulls me out of the experience. I don't need to be this goddamn privacy-focused that I'm actually using a completely off-the-shelf smartphone experience with a user base that rivals in the 0.01% category. No, there are only two options when it comes to mobile devices. Android and Apple. And honestly, at this point, it's kind of like PlayStation and Xbox. Whichever your friends are actually using to run messages on is the route you're gonna have to take. It's a wild world, man, goddamn. But if it's one thing I've learned about all these devices, at the end of the day, as long as that shit lasts longer than a day and you can check your emails and browse Twitter, social media every once in a while and send a goddamn text message, that's all you really need. You know, it's not about what games you can play on your devices. Hell, the other day, Yuzu got released for the Nintendo Switch emulator for Android devices. And while it's cool, thank God I have the Steam Deck, which pretty much handles all of my portable emulation anyways. God forbid I'm playing a mobile game on my phone. I saw Final Fantasy VII on the actual App Store, and I honestly wondered who the fuck is playing FF7 mobile on their cell phone, for crying out loud. I'm sure some people are. Hell, when I was getting my appendix removed, yeah, I played Chrono Trigger on my phone. But then again, I was on the cusp of death at that point, alright? I needed something to do while I was in hospital recovery. Anyways, we're looking at a whole different dark period of time. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I capitulated. I had to switch back to Apple. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? It is what it is. But one thing I have learned is it doesn't matter which device that you have. Just don't be a goddamn vegan about it. Don't be a Linux user about what you have. At the end of the day, it is what it is. Buy whatever works for you and just buy whatever that hopefully has you connected with the world around you in the way that everyone wants you, okay? It is what it is. And honestly, at the end of the day, Apple, just goddamn enable RCS services in your fucking messaging application so I don't have to be tethered to goddamn iMessage. But then again, how would they be selling iPhones if they didn't have this crazy vice grip on people's balls? Anyways, this is me, Mudahar, and yeah, if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. I am